You're 39 years old, sitting at a red light in a 9-year-old Mazda. The air conditioner makes a strange clicking sound. Your phone is mounted to the dashboard with a cheap plastic holder you bought years ago. Then a black Mercedes pulls up beside you. The driver looks about your age. Perfect suit, expensive watch, beautiful car. For a few seconds, you remember when seeing someone like him would have made you feel behind. Not anymore, because before leaving home this morning, you checked your investment accounts. $936,400. Your car is paid off. Your credit cards carry no balance. You have enough cash set aside to handle months without a paycheck. And the strangest part? Nobody looking at you would know. 12 years ago, you desperately wanted strangers to believe you were successful. Today, you couldn't care less, because you eventually learned something that completely changed your financial life. Looking wealthy costs money. Becoming wealthy requires keeping it. And your transformation started when you were 27 years old, with less than $500 to your name. At 27, you received the biggest raise of your career. Your salary jumps from $49,000 to $63,500 a year. You feel unstoppable. For about 3 days. Then you start upgrading. First comes a newer apartment, an extra $430 a month. Then a financed SUV, $585 a month. Then better clothes, expensive dinners, upgraded electronics, and weekend trips you convince yourself you deserve. Your income increased, but somehow your checking account still reaches the same dangerous level before payday. One Friday night, you open your banking app, $417. Your credit card balance, $3,260. Your investments, almost nothing. That's when something becomes painfully obvious. You don't actually own the lifestyle you're showing everyone. Your next paycheck does. You have increased your income without increasing your freedom. And for the first time, you ask yourself a different question. If I lost my job tomorrow, how long could I keep living like this? The answer is uncomfortable. Maybe 3 weeks. A few weeks later, you're having lunch with Martin, a 68-year-old former contractor your father has known for years. Martin doesn't look wealthy. His jacket is faded. His phone is several generations old. He drives a pickup that's probably worth less than your SUV's remaining loan. You know he sold his construction company years ago, so you casually asked why he never upgraded everything. Martin smiles. Then he says something you don't forget. I stopped buying things to make people think I had money. I started buying myself choices instead. Choices? He explains. Money in investments gives him the choice not to work. Cash savings give him the choice not to borrow. Low monthly expenses give him the choice to walk away from situations he doesn't like. His truck? It simply gets him home. That evening, you look around your apartment differently. The SUV, the furniture, the clothes, the monthly payments. They make you look successful, but almost none of them give you more choices. That's when your definition of wealth begins to change. You don't transform overnight. You start ridiculously small. On payday, you automatically move $90 into a low-cost diversified investment fund. That's all. You almost laugh at the amount. What is $90 supposed to change? Then you realize that's the wrong question. The important part isn't the $90. It's that the money leaves before you have the chance to spend it. Next, you attack the credit card. You stop adding new purchases. You cancel 3 subscriptions. You cook at home more often. You sell several things you bought during your successful phase but barely use. 8 months later, the credit card balance reaches 0. Instead of celebrating by buying something, you increase your automatic investment from $90 to $240 per paycheck. You also begin building a separate emergency fund. Nothing about you looks richer. That's exactly the point. For the first time, your financial progress is happening somewhere nobody else can see. At 30, you change companies. Your salary increases to $78,000. The old version of you immediately starts imagining a better car, The new version does something different. You keep your lifestyle almost unchanged. You increase investing. You increase your emergency savings. And you give yourself a small amount of extra spending money so the plan doesn't feel like punishment. 2 years later, your investment balance crosses $67,000. You stare at the number longer than you'd like to admit. Not because $67,000 makes you rich, it doesn't, but because you finally understand what happened. Every raise used to create a new expense. Now, every raise creates more ownership, more investments, more cash, more flexibility. That's when you create a personal rule. Whenever your income rises, your investments rise before your lifestyle does. That simple rule becomes more valuable than almost any individual investment you ever choose. At 33, your portfolio reaches roughly $126,000. Then the market falls. You watch your account slide below $101,000. More than $25,000 appears to disappear. You feel sick. Your first instinct is to protect what's left. Sell. Wait. Come back when everything feels safer. Then you remember something important. You aren't investing for next month. You aren't investing for next year. This money has decades to work. So you do almost nothing. You keep your emergency savings separate. You leave your long-term investments alone. Most importantly, your automatic contributions continue. Every payday, you're buying while prices are lower. Months later, markets begin recovering. Your panic slowly disappears. And you learn one of the most important lessons of the entire journey. A long-term plan isn't tested when everything is rising. It's tested when following it feels uncomfortable. At 34, your employer gives you another promotion. Your compensation increases significantly. Several coworkers celebrate their promotions with new cars. You almost join them. You test drive a luxury SUV, leather seats, huge display, silent cabin. The payment would be around $720 every month. You can afford it. That's what makes the decision difficult. Then you calculate what else $720 could do. You leave the dealership without buying the SUV. The following morning, you increase your monthly investment by $720 instead. Nothing exciting happens. No congratulations, no new car smell. Nobody at work notices. But month after month, that money begins purchasing assets instead of another payment. You finally understand something Martin was trying to tell you years earlier. Being able to make a payment doesn't automatically mean the purchase improves your life. You start measuring purchases differently. Not, can I afford this, but is this worth what I'm giving up to own it? 2 years later, your home heating system fails during one of the coldest weeks of winter. The replacement costs $6,800. Years ago, a bill like that would have been terrifying. Credit card, loan, payment plan, months of stress. Now, you open your emergency savings account. The money is already there. You pay the bill. It hurts, of course it does, but it doesn't destabilize your life. And that's when you realize wealth isn't only about watching an investment number grow. Sometimes wealth looks like a broken furnace that doesn't become a financial crisis. Sometimes it's sleeping normally after an expensive repair. Sometimes it's knowing that one unexpected Tuesday won't destroy the next 6 months. You replenish the emergency fund over the following months and continue investing. For the first time, money feels less like something you're constantly chasing. It starts feeling like protection. At 36, your investments pass $310,000. One evening, you review your account. You notice something strange. During a particularly strong period, the movement in your portfolio was larger than several months of your own contributions. You didn't work extra hours for that growth. You didn't start another side hustle. You didn't predict the next hot stock. Years of consistent investing simply gave compounding more money to work with. That's when the process finally clicks. At the beginning, almost everything depended on you. You earned, you saved, you invested, you repeated. But eventually, the money you accumulated began contributing meaningful growth of its own. You don't stop investing. You don't assume markets will rise every year, but your mindset changes. You're no longer trying to get rich quickly. You're trying to build something that can keep working for decades. And suddenly, boring doesn't feel boring anymore. It feels powerful. At 37, you're offered another promotion. It comes with approximately $29,000 more per year. Years earlier, you would have accepted before your manager finished speaking. But there's a catch. Frequent travel, late-night calls, more weekends, much more responsibility. You go home and run the numbers. Then something surprises you. You don't need the additional income. Your expenses are controlled, your emergency fund is healthy, your investments are growing, your debt is manageable. So you decline. That decision teaches you what financial freedom actually means. It isn't necessarily retiring at 35. It isn't owning a mansion. It's having enough financial strength to say, no, that isn't worth my time. For years, you thought money was about purchasing more things. Now you understand its greatest value may be completely different. Money can purchase options, and options can give you back control over your time. Your longtime friend Ethan has followed a different path. His income has risen almost as quickly as yours, but every increase creates another obligation. Larger house, newer vehicles, premium memberships, finance vacations, monthly payments everywhere. From the outside, Ethan appears more successful than you. Then his company restructures. His income drops for several months. Nothing he owns suddenly becomes cheaper. The mortgage still arrives, the vehicle payments still arrive, the credit cards still arrive. You don't lecture him. You remember being 27. Instead, the situation reinforces the lesson you've spent a decade learning. Income and wealth are not the same thing. A high income can support an expensive lifestyle. Wealth gives you the ability to survive when that income changes. From that point forward, you stop comparing your possessions with other people's possessions. You have no idea what's happening behind their monthly payments, and they have no idea what's quietly growing inside your accounts. Now you're 39. Your investments have reached approximately $936,400. You expected reaching numbers like this to feel dramatic. It doesn't. You still make coffee at home. You still compare prices. You still drive the Mazda. But one enormous thing has changed. Fear. A surprise bill doesn't terrify you. A bad month doesn't immediately require debt. A difficult boss doesn't control your entire future. And losing a job would be a problem, not an instant catastrophe. That's the wealth nobody can see. Not the portfolio screenshot, not the account balance, the breathing room. The ability to make decisions without every choice being dictated by your next paycheck. You finally understand why Martin never seemed interested in proving what he had. Once money gives you enough security, displaying it becomes far less interesting. You spend your 20s wanting people to think you are doing well. You spend your late 30s actually doing well. Those are completely different things. Back at the red light, the Mercedes beside you pulls away. Your Mazda keeps clicking. You'll probably get that check this weekend. And you smile, because 12 years ago, you would have looked at that Mercedes and thought, I want people to see me driving that. Today, you think, I want my money building the life I actually want. That's the transformation. It wasn't one lucky investment. It wasn't a massive inheritance. It wasn't becoming obsessed with never spending money. You simply stopped requiring every raise to become a lifestyle upgrade. You paid off expensive debt. You built emergency savings. You automated diversified long-term investing. You increased contributions as your income grew. You stayed invested through uncomfortable markets. And you learned to separate looking wealthy from becoming financially secure. Your first investment was only $90. It didn't look important, but it changed the direction of every paycheck that followed. So look at your next paycheck and ask yourself, how much of this money is buying an image and how much is buying my future?